just jumping right in, I love to hear that my bio reads so well. It makes me feel so prolific. That is so amazing. So we'll jump past that, Olga, since you did the introduction. Of course, we have the 5 steps to solidify your brand presence in a competitive marketplace. And so today, my focus is to really talk about and identify the who, what, when, where, and how of your brands. My hope is that I will leave you all to be encouraged to tell and narrate more authentic stories about your brand and your content that you're creating for the world to see. But did you know the most important thing here on this slide is to really talk about 7 seconds to make an impression. I think now in today's competitive marketplace, whether it be the website, Instagram, or wherever your brand is, you only have about 7 seconds before you lose people's attention. So in that being said, I want you all to really focus on being impactful, quick, and agile with the communication of your brand. And that's really the purpose of this entire webinar today, is to really focus on the who, what, when, where, and how of your brands. So number one, we're going to start off with who. People don't want to hear, they want to hear from an expert. So question being, do you have a hype man? James Brown had Maceo. Morris Day had, I think, what's my guy's name? As I pat my forehead. But everybody has a hype man. So whether you might have a husband or child or a coworker, or let's say, for instance, your publicist, that's your hype man about your product, everyone needs to identify and understand what their strengths and weaknesses are. So really honing in on your expertise about your brand is really important. I think people want to engage with authorities on brands at all times, and they want to know the person behind the scenes, the person that's making the magic. And oftentimes as designers, we want to shy away from that spotlight. Well, some of us do and some of us don't. But for the majority part, a lot of us want to stay in the creative world and consistently create products and brands that are going to speak about what we're feeling and how we're feeling in our current moods. And hopefully that meets a consumer where they are. But first, of course, the who, the expert. I really wanted to hone in on telling you all about having an effective bio and an effective headshot. Olga did me great justice when she read my bio. And of course, I tooled over that, and my team tooled over that to make sure that it was impactful, to be engaging. I hope you all found it engaging. And of course, I have a couple of different headshots. But speaking about headshots, the idea is to keep them timeless, to make sure that they are they really allow people to get a chance to see who you are. And I hope it speaks to who your brand is. And of course, I love to smile, I love to share, I love to laugh. So I never wanted a stern bio where my arms are folded and it didn't speak to who I am as a person. I love to smile, I love to meet new people. And so oftentimes I would never, well, I would say this, I will never have a picture that seems too stuck or stern. Basically, with the bio, you're allowing yourself to share the sound bites for introductory purposes. So as you all are getting ready to take the stage, whether it be on a newscast or at an award ceremony or actually speaking on webinars, it gives the reader opportunities to really hone in on sound bites that speak to who you are and establishing your history for people to feel like they know you. And it's my hope that, of course, you all can critique me today. It is my hope that my bio did that for you, as well as to get you excited about meeting me. But more importantly, the reason why it's very important for you to have your headshot and your bio ready is that when you meet that executive or when you meet that buyer for your brand, or you have a powerful friend that may say to you, oh my goodness, you should call the buyer at Bergdorf. You don't want to have to scramble to find a headshot. You don't want to have to chase down the photographer that took that headshot 10 years ago. Have your files and your documents ready. We're going to keep going so we can discuss a little bit further. And of course, I really wanted to have an interactive PDF presentation and have it moving and shaking and all the bells and whistles. So today you'll just have to live with my animations, my hand gestures, and my smiles and my frowns along the way. So understanding the who, it's not all about you. It is also about your customers. And I think it's very important for all of us to understand and know what lifestyle our customers live. A lot of you may have Uber elite clients, and some of you all may have middle of the road clients, and then some of you may have $5 clients. I don't know. But whatever you're creating, I'm sure it is beautiful. But the most important thing is to understand and know that lifestyle. And right now, just speaking for your Uber clients or Uber wealthy clients, they may be in remote locations. You might not be able to reach them. A lot of those high net worth individuals may have executive assistants. So what does that mean when you're speaking and corresponding with an executive assistant? Executive assistants' numbers may change. The CEO's numbers may change. You make sure that you always have a direct line to these executive assistants. Furthermore, editorial placements to penetrate your target consumer. You don't necessarily want to always be in everything. And you'll hear me recognize or say something about jack of all trade and master of none. It is very important that you work in specificity to penetrate your target market through target editorial and target consumers. Don't just die to have an editorial or placement on anything. You really ultimately want to have leads that are going to get people to make a purchase or make a sale. Okay, so further defining your customer. The most important thing about this slide today is talkers versus texters. I am a talker. I don't mind picking up the phone. I don't mind having a full blown out conversation about jewelry, design, brands, fabulousness, all of the above. But some people don't enjoy talking. Some people prefer a text. So understanding and getting them engaged on where they are, meeting your customers where they are. I know one of my weaknesses is social media. A lot of times people will say, oh, I want to see your infectious personality. I want to see you talking. Well, it takes a lot of preparation to look like this in a COVID situation. And so not so much, but you understand my point. Some of us don't want to be seen on camera. Some of us don't want the attention of like the Kardashians. So picking and choosing your battle. So social media, pick strong suits is another job, beyond the designer. Oftentimes as small independent designers, we have multiple jobs. So if you don't want to be on front of the camera, don't. Do us all a favor. We want to know only the highlights and all the goodness that your brand tends to offer. Secondly, I talk about email campaigns and just figuring out ways to channel your energy to get in front of your consumer. Email campaigns have been proven effective, but sometimes you might think to yourself, oh my goodness, I don't have all of my emails in one central location. Take the time to invest to understand Constant Contact, understand MailChimp, and if you don't know, some of us may have children that help. I have nephews and nieces that help me oftentimes understand the ever-changing technology in today's world. So further defining your customer. The goal here, if nothing ever speaks louder than what I'm saying today, sell them and keep them coming. Okay, the most important thing, again, everything is the most important thing because again, we are trying to sell, keep our businesses going in tough markets and tough times. But if you apply some of these ideas, they can really help you and streamline your business funnel. So again, websites are great examples of ways to collect data safely, quickly, and efficiently. Oftentimes, I'm sure customers will say, oh, well, do you take, American Express? Or, that can be a double-edged sword. We all know from American Express, I'm giving you an example. American Express can be an excellent tool for business because there are a lot of protections on the consumer side. But if you are the seller, if you don't organize your sales and make sure that those details on that receipt indicate your business, a husband or a lover or a partner might not recognize your charge on that Amex bill and start a chargeback. So making sure that you reassure your customers that we've got your data, we're not using anything, we're not going to use it without your consent, and don't do a chargeback on that diamond necklace because you're going to hurt my sales quota. Secondly, how do you say thank you? I think right now, more than ever, it is very effective when you do one thing that my mother and my godmother taught me. Handwritten notes speaks volumes. They are elegant and they go a million miles. And today, I'm sure looking at my mailbox, I'm looking over the camera now. I look to go to the mailbox. That is the highlight of my day right now, going to the mailbox to see what's in it. Hopefully it's not a lot of bills. And so handwritten notes are excellent ways to keep dialogue with your consumers, to make them feel engaged and to make them feel appreciated. And so as I go further, if we're talking about an example, I want you all to really, really focus on incentivizing your team, whether that be sales reps at a trunk show or your publicist or even your husband. Like I said, the family structure that supports your business, incentivizing them. So case in point, when you are going into a trunk show or you are going into the trunk show for the sales, offering something, whether it be a gift card, pizza, ice cream, or what never hurts, unless some people don't drink, is a bottle of wine. Whispering Angel is my favorite. So you would not have a problem from me if you incentivize me with a bottle of Whispering Angel to sell your jewelry at a trunk show. So we are through with module 1. Right now, I'm opening the floor up for a quick Q&A, questions and answers. I kindly ask you that you direct your questions to Olga, and she'll present them to me. And I encourage you to ask from your heart. No question means you won't evolve, and don't be embarrassed. We're here to learn.
We do have one question from Cecilia. She wanted to know if you had any tips on how to structure the elevator pitch.
Oh, goodness. Cecilia, that means you've got to wait until the end of this webinar. I am going to attack that. Olga made sure I'm going to attack that. So stay tuned.
All right, stay tuned. That's the only one we have for this section, but everyone keep coming with the questions.
Oh my goodness, now you all are not going to be boring. We're going to be excited now. We're going to be excited. So we'll keep moving.
We have one that just came in regarding headshots. Headshots, should they be in black and white or color, in your opinion?
Oh my goodness. I always choose a picture that I absolutely love, and I use them in both black and white and in color. And it really just, it really depends on my mood. Oftentimes with my headshots, I tend to err on the side of black and white, because one of the people that I channel or my, if I am to be elegant, is Diane Carroll. So I often always look at black and white images of her and Lena Horne. And I think if I can be that elegant in my black and white headshot, then I will have nailed it. And then from the man side, I know some women I'm speaking to, I could be speaking to men and women. Well, I'm speaking to women, but I also chat on Miles Davis oftentimes as it relates to my headshot, because he was so eclectic, so funky, so rock and roll. And I think the black and white headshot it makes it even more timeless.
Well, we're starting to get more questions rolling in.
All right. Well, I guess, well, you know what? We've got to cut it right there, and we're going to go to the next module.
All right. We'll come back.
Okay. So the what, that's number 2. We've got 5 steps. So I want you all to hang on. If you're not drinking wine right now, drink a little water. I am drinking water from my Be Encouraged mug. So hang in there, you guys. We're almost there. So what makes your brand unique? What are you made of? And so I give an example. Are your stones exotic or off the shores of Angola? So the point with that, and I know that runs the gamut. I tried to give you all room to understand that there is so much space in the world for you to tell your most authentic story. And so education and unique qualities of craftsmanship are draws. They are draws when you're in a room. I think your consumers are going to want to know about the content of your brand, and how did you come up with this campaign, and how did you create this bracelet, or how did you create this necklace? It is very important that you all really think about what educational tools that you want to celebrate when you're talking with your consumers. And the next point of this slide is don't be a statistic. Tell your story. It is time out for everybody trying to be a clone. I don't want to hear any more boring stories. Okay, it's all right if you have a benchmark of like a David Yurman, if you will, or a Harry Winston, or you look at these bigger brands as benchmarks. But I think being independent allows you to break all the rules and have fun with what you're doing. One idea that comes to mind, one of my dear friends that I worked with years past, Lori Rodkin. She's an LA-based rock and roll jewelry designer. And I just love the fact that Lori always lived her truth, and she was rock and roll all the time. And so I think customers will identify with that, and they will draw nearer to you when you're living your most authentic self. And so as I talk about celebrate originality, this is very high on my list. So as you read down the bullet points with me, know your product, be the undisputed champion of your brand. Nobody's gonna sell it better than you unless you have a partner or a spouse that just truly believes in you, that wants to see you really, really win. Or if you've got a mother like mine, then you don't have to speak when you walk into a room because she's gonna do all the talking. It might be the incorrect story, but at least she'll be your advocate. And then, so be an original. There are too many clones in this world. I think everybody wants to replicate the success of the Kardashians, but there are sacrifices that go along with that. And not everybody wants all of those attributes. I'll leave it at that. And I'll let you all dream and carry on with your Thursday. Think about what I just said. What is the unique story of your brand? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be vulnerable right now. I don't need to write any preface this, but the T in my logo is a result of my house flooding. And I had several floods over the years in my condos. One where my neighbor left to go out of town and left the water running. And then a tree backed up the lines in my condo, and water came from underground through the toilets. And I had been in LA for a month working. And I walked back in my condo and there is sewage all over the floor. And then the onset of mold. So as I went through these problems in life, I just kept thinking to myself, well, what is the universe trying to tell me here? And so as I think about water, I think about being adaptable, being agile, and continually moving, even in spite of examples like this, COVID. So now, after going through a lot of things, and that's just a little bit about the T and the blue in the logo. That's just a little bit. I'm sure we all have magnificent stories, but I'm not my circumstance. I'm not the examples of what I've been through. I just have to push through and tell you that the T in my logo is about fluidity and being able to continually move like water, and nothing can stop water. So as we move forward, what makes your brand unique? I know you all love this peacock. I have peacocks all over my house because they are beautiful. And I love how they just fill the room with so much color. But it's very important that you all understand peacocks are beautiful, but they do not fly. And the standard that I want you all to understand here is that you may walk into a room and you may feel a room, and you may celebrate or be awesome in all your fabulousness and all of your color. But I know a lot of us probably will have this example. And I've had customers where sometimes it will be too intimidating. Or you may lose a customer because they'll say, well, I just can't wear it like you. Or, you know what, I just wish I had the confidence that you have to be able to do it. You have to tailor your brand and tailor that tale to know when and when not to spread and show all of your beauty. And so I'm saying this to say that right now, especially in social media, there are so many people that are just multimillionaires on social media, but they are not real millionaires in person. And so it's so much, I don't want to say, well, you know what? Let me just be real. So much foolishness out there. You really can't discern what's fake, what's real, and all of those details. So again, erring on the side and bringing your customers along with you. And then instead of them being intimidated by it, you then encourage them of how they too can add a little color to their brand to be celebrated and to look their best with your product. Furthermore, we go into equip sales associates and this goes back to my mom being an advocate for me, it is very important that your team understands all of the bold, beautiful colors that you use. They need to know the brand inside and out. And that's why in that point about your elevator pitch, and you jumped ahead of me when you asked about the elevator pitch. It is very important for everybody on your team to have those bullet points, to be able to rifle them off very quickly when they are interviewed or they may be on the plane. You don't want your husband or wife or partner or lover or child to say, oh, my mom's a jewelry designer. She just designs jewelry for everyone. No, you want them to say, my mother or my wife or my loved one or my partner specializes in rubies, sapphires, something explicit that gives people an idea about who you are and what your brand is about. Moving further in the what module, what are you made of? Let's talk unique, exotic, function, form, structure. The most important point about this, and I know I'm saying the most important point because all these points are important to me, and I wanted to stress them with you all. Be careful about exotics, i.e. the example of fur in LA. You don't want to necessarily scare people away or make them feel threatened with your brand. So understanding what exotics work where and in what climates and in what regions of the world, and understand what's going on a global platform before you totally offend someone. And that then means being explicit about what the design or elements of your brand speak to. If you, let's say, for instance, went to the Eiffel Tower and you were dreaming or daydreaming and you decided to cultivate this necklace or piece of jewelry based upon your looking up at the Eiffel Tower at sunset, then understand and be able to write that, how those structural components made or elevated your thought process to design this collection. Hone in on it, stick with it, and be able to communicate that to someone. Again, elevating your elevator pitch. The purpose is key. I think a lot of times now today, a lot of people want to benefit charitable organizations, but it's very important that you work extensively to align yourself with strategic partners that you are in tune with. There are so many people, and I've had this happen before with clients. Clients will get on a red carpet and they'll be wearing a piece of jewelry to help, let's say, for instance, starving children. And they will get on the red carpet and they will rip the entire perspective of the charitable organization apart with one microphone. So making sure that you understand the charitable organizations that you're in alignment with, so that you can effectively save more lives and continue providing the work to that community that you love oh so much. I think one great example of that I've seen, and of course, people are very sensitive right now. We're in a very challenging climate. But Brunello Cucinelli does an excellent job of telling the story of Solomeo and talking about helping that community and how they're crafting product in that community and how they're giving jobs. So being able to take that organization and have it deeply rooted in your brand it speaks volumes. So we are now at question, Q and answer after module 2. I hope we're doing okay. I want to encourage you all, ask, don't be a scaredy cat, because I'm going to tell you, if you thought you were nervous, I was nervous before I jumped on this call. I don't know if you know, but we had a few technical difficulties. Olga was trying to walk me through on how to get this the PDF aligned, and I was nervous. I began to perspire, but we are here now and we're having fun. So give me the questions, you all.
We have another question. If you don't have a hype man, how can you present and offer the benefits of your professional jewelry art without being accused of pitching?
Wow, that is an awesome question. I think with what you all are creating with the jewelry, one way you can truly do that is by having those awesome editorial shots that we will discuss later, and having the high points of that brand celebrated. Because oftentimes when you look at jewelry and design, you can't deny that it's beautiful. And so if it's laid out properly and celebrated in all of its rareness and all of its great angles and lighting, it's undeniable. So you don't necessarily, sometimes you don't have to talk if the brand is written out very well. And that will go into, I mean, you all are just so smart. I knew I was going to be on the phone with a lot of smart people today. There are a lot of points coming that I think will answer some of those questions or some of those reservations that you just posed.
How do we structure or make a bio engaging when writing it?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
How do we structure or make a bio engaging when writing the biography?
Duplicate mine. No. I think that again, I want you all, I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to expose why you do this. I want you to begin to ask yourself, every client that we work through that walks through our doors, we don't do the boring SWOT analysis. We ask the current event style positioning with every client. We want to know who, what, when, where, why, and how. And ultimately, I believe if you begin to sit down and ask your questions, who am I? Why am I doing this? What purpose am I serving? It's going to help you craft that bio and make it. And ultimately, if you are living in your authentic purpose, the bio is going to come to life. And I want to encourage you all to understand that bios change. I think so many people think, oh my goodness, I've got to get my bio written. But if I update mine every year because I'm always accomplishing more things, you know. I'm doing more. I'm a working artist just like you all. And so it's very important to highlight the things that really make you sparkle. Did that answer the question?
Did that answer the question?
Yes or no? I want an interactive chat box now.
Yeah. Megan?
All right.
Yes, she says it did. It did.
Okay, wonderful. So we're going to move on.
Okay.
And the win. Module 3. No time like the present. My dad always said, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. My father was a Vietnam veteran, and he would always tell stories, and I'm sure you all might have stories alike from family members, but he would always tell me about his stories of Vietnam and just being prepared and on your and for lack of better words, on your toes after serving the war. And so I always tell my team, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And are you selling product out of the trunk of your car? If not, why not? Today's economy has drastically shifted. Consumers adore a unique approach. And I know that you all are in New York, so it might be a little challenging. So don't take my words to heart to pull up on a corner and to open the trunk of your car and to sell product out of the trunk of your car. But take what I'm saying and think about it. And the idea is that wherever you are, there's an opportunity to sell your product. And I want you all to simply think about what is it going to take for you to be the best ambassador of your brand. And simply put, be ready to sell the jewelry off of your neck or wrist. And what does that mean? Again, no time like the present. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So, again, understanding that small business is big business. And how do you survive in comparison to big box organizations? I think it's very important for all of us to understand commissions, consignments, and lengthy payouts. Initially, when I first began as a designer and just my work through my history, I always thought to myself, "Oh, I can't wait to be on the racks at Bergdorf." And it didn't. You think you know what you want until you get it. And I didn't know at the time when I had these major dreams, and then you accomplish certain things through clients and some of your work, that you have lengthy payouts with big box organizations. And then you have to split your commissions with these big box organizations. So think to yourself, who wants to wait for the commission check? And then who wants to wait for the lengthy payout? And so again, thinking and adapting to current situations, you may make more by selling out of the trunk of your car or doing pop-ups at some of your girlfriend's houses. Of course, hence after COVID. Well, some of us may be able to do a little mask and play, right now, because again, several of my friends that work at Hermes right now are talking about those clients are still spending. One of my great friends just sold a chessboard, a Hermes chessboard. And he was just thinking to himself, what do you need a chessboard for right now in the midst? His client said, I just wanted to look beautiful in my house if I've got to sit in the house and look at it. So you have clients that are in that capacity. So why not make that commission, or why not sell that piece of jewelry? It does you no good if it's sitting in your house, looking good in your house. So to that end, always have high-risk assets on your person. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of times we'll be sitting on an airplane next to someone that is ready to make a purchase, or someone that is getting ready to go out on to go to a charitable gala or something, and you are sitting there next to them, and you don't know how much they have in their purse or their wallet or on their credit card. And you're sitting there next to them on the plane, and then you start talking about your jewelry or your brand, and they're excited about you as a person, and then you're fumbling to show them a high-res picture. Instead of having the pictures of, now, don't kill me here. Instead of having the picture of your children on the screen or whatever that may be, put the picture of your jewelry on the screen so that when you meet people, you can say, oh, here you go. Look at it. It's right here. And this way, people will say, oh, she is infectious. She is excited about her brand. Her stuff was right on time. And so, I think I've sort of answered a lot of those questions about staying ready. But furthering that by saying, have your consignment contracts, loan contracts, and shipping printed in advance. So many people will say, oh, I'm ready to get in a store. But then when the store calls you, you are having to try to call your friend that's an attorney, or your cousin that might be a paralegal, to draft you some form of consignment agreement. It is too late at this point. Again, if you don't remember one thing from Patrick T. Cooper, remember Mans Calvin Cooper III and the Vietnam veteran. And he says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, ladies. Get these contracts, these loan agreements, have them on your phone with your high-res pictures so that the next time you meet a buyer, when we recover, we're going to be positive, when we recover, you can make that sale. And to that point, Stripe Square e-commerce functionality on your website, take a sale wherever you are. And I know it may seem, some of you may be looking at me and thinking at this screen saying, well, I'm not a bag lady, and I'm not going to insult my clients by pulling out my Square, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm sophisticated and all of that. Well, sophistication comes with having the money in your account and selling your brand. And ultimately, if you sell that brand, you have another brand ambassador out on the streets of New York, LA, around the globe, talking about how fabulous you are and telling people, oh my goodness, she had her Square ready for me. I thought I was going to dodge her and just fake out on the sale. No, here you go. I'm ready to take your purchase right now. And sometimes, yeah, it is ego, because I've been in that situation at Oscars and things like that, and I'm like, oh well, I don't want to be too, I don't want to offend anybody. But then I think to myself, well, if I've got to try to track you down through an executive assistant or something, I've lost the opportunity. So as we go on with when, no time like the present, I think one of the questions, and I think Olga presented this to me when we initially began to talk, should you attend a trade show? Now, I know that we are all at different levels. We are all in different grades or elevations of our branding and our development. But I think now more than ever, it is imperative that you do the cost analysis of what it's going to require for you to have space on that trade show floor. I think more than ever now, things are going to change. There's going to be a lot of fallout after this. There are going to be a lot of things collapsing, a lot of stores closing. And I think we all are going to have to adjust accordingly. And it's going to be understanding how that uber wealthy client is moving and how that aspirational client is moving and how you can fit in there and meet that need and how you're going to ultimately make that sale. So trade shows can be costly, and the thorn, determines what it will yield: new accounts, sales, or orders. But the most important thing is to understanding what will this yield, or how is this going to benefit me? And the last point about this slide that I really wanted to discuss is it is very important that sometimes you may want to partner with other designers to offset some of those costs. And if you do that, what does that booth look like? Because of course, you may have a different aesthetic from another designer. So what does this really mean? And how are you going to make the booth separate, but awesome at the same time? So, thought of a doozy yet to stop me? So we are at question and answer section. So sorry.
We still have a lot of questions coming for you. So Christina Mal, she's one of the jewelry designers on here. She had a question about her Shopify site and branding. It has a large, colorful photo on the home screen, and it makes it look different from the template. But she wants to know, should she use a Shopify template with a white background to look more modern? In your opinion, what's more eye-catching? What's better?
Wow, well, that's a good question. It's interesting that you will say that, and I'm going to tell you, there are a couple of things, and I don't want to deter you, but I have to be genuine and I have to be myself. I'm going to encourage you to begin to look at, of course, if you can do a customization, always. I think that speaks volumes, and I think it gives your brand some level of unique identity. But I am going to tell you, and I don't want anybody from Shopify shooting me, the percentages and those things on Shopify are fairly healthy, and it depends on the situation. The WordPress platform gives you more flexibility, and it offers you more options, but it is a little bit more work. And so that's one of the things that we do in our offices. We try to build brands so that customers can walk away and be able to manage it, and then come back to us and do seasonal updates, because you ultimately want to be able to spark and place content quickly. As you get new content, you don't want to necessarily have to call a web developer or a graphic designer or a creative director such as myself and ask them to plug in a new picture. So understanding that there are a lot of variables that go into that selection, because of course you may have landscape, you may have portrait. So understanding the ratios on pictures, and I've worked in creative direction now for 10 years, and I still don't get sometimes the ratios that go on pictures. But I'm definitely going to offer you all after this some opportunity to access my office and to ask your most specific questions. And of course, we'll be offering feedback.
Oh, there's so many questions. Okay, we had another question. Any tips on how not to make an elevator pitch sound like a pitch?
Well, I think that as I get a ton of pitch information on a daily basis from just several different brands and working with several different brands, I think that a pitch, and I hate to use the word, I don't want to be trite, but it needs to be unique. And I don't know how to, to really specify that. The most important thing that I would want you to understand is that your pitch needs to be unique. So if you are sending this pitch out, then instead of having like this title in the subject of the email, try something like, here's my pitch. This is why you want to know about the brand. Like, poke fun at it, be different. And I think that's what's going to get people engaged. I get so many pitch letters every day that don't have high-res pictures in it. They don't have anything about the brand. It's just written content. And often, I mean, like right now, I get about 500 pitches a day from different brands, even myself. So you can only imagine when I open up this folder from Cision and things like that, how many emails come through. And my pitch folder includes travel, lifestyle, luxury, LGBTQ, all these different things that are going around the globe, right? So again, what is that subject line? And it goes back to the last question, what does that picture look like? And is that picture engaging? And is it going to capture the reader's attention? So I think that's, instead of working on the idea of what's in the pitch, think about how your pitch is going to jump off the page and what wording you're going to use to make it make sense. And I'll give a little bit more detail about that. There are certain ways that Google reads blog posts, news, media, and of course, and it may sound boring. I wrote an article about this years ago. I know we all read these. 9 ways to spruce up your house, or 5 secrets to, here's your thing to unlock. They are, sometimes you read them and you're like, oh my goodness, this is so boring. Like, put a screw in my eye. This is so boring. But it's the way Google reads. So you have to figure a way to make it say pow when they read it. Yeah. And I want to encourage, let me tell you, as I take a sip from my cup, I'm so excited about my brand. So, let's just pitch it here. Be encouraged. So I want to tell you all this. I forgot to say it because we had the technical difficulties. I am giving away to the first 10 people that go to my website and subscribe to my website. I am giving away some cool gifts. So we will accept those subscriptions. And then once you do that, we will follow up with you to get your shipping address. And then you will get a little encouragement in the mail. It might not be a handwritten note, but it's going to make you smile. And I also wanted to tell you, I know Olga and I talked about this yesterday when we did our practice run, that if you have any further questions, my team is manning my website right now. We have the chat icon there. If you drop your questions there, I'm going to try to get back to them and answer you all's questions quickly. And the last piece is that we're offering 2 brand analysis after this to 2 lucky people as well from those subscriptions. And this will be a 15-minute power analysis of your brand to help you get on track. So Goodwill Hunting, you guys. I mean, I want you all to flood me with the questions and definitely subscribe so we can stay in contact. So let's keep moving to where. Module 4, where, agile and nimble like a ninja. And I know this picture is so cool. I thought of this and I said, I'm going to make you all get so excited with these cool pictures. It's not a violent thing. It's just like aesthetic here. And the idea is that, and it's also COVID chic. But the idea is be ready for trunk shows in 5 minutes. No time for flash drives. Are you ready for a magazine editor regarding your product image? And it goes back to nobody's trying to check flash drives. I've been to so many trade shows where, travel trade shows where people will hand me a flash drive and it's like, no, first of all, when I leave the trade show, this is gonna make my bag heavier. I don't necessarily wanna carry this. And I've gotta leave here and go to the airport and catch my plane. And do you think I wanna carry extra weight with me? No. So you wanna make sure you capture people and be able to say, hey, give me your email. Let me send you the product images right now. Again, I'm using the analogy of the plane because I have sat on planes with some high-powered people, and you have their undivided attention for that hour, 45 minutes after the flight attendant makes the announcements. So you have, if you're a talker now, If you're talking, not a texter, you have an undivided attention to be able to grab them, share with them your content, and just say, you know what, I don't have my business card, but give me your email and I'll send you over the files. Well, if you have your campaign, your press pictures, and that elevator pitch or some recent newsletter about your brand, you can just shoot it over to them. Chances are they'll say, oh, wow, when they open it, if you fast enough. And then by the time they get off the plane, it's the first thing that pops up in their email. And they're excited. They're like, wow, they were professional. So think of it like this. If you're hungry for a job, you've got your resume with you, right? So same thing with this business. Have your tools readily available and make sure that your collateral, razor sharp brand collateral. And above all, please make sure to check for grammatical errors, because you want to exude professionalism at all costs. And my main thing about that is keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Try to draw upon the KISS rule and make it clean so that people get the main points. And ultimately, think to yourself, you are a consumer as well. Use that consumer thought process in your mind to think, what does this funnel look like and how quickly can I get someone to a cash register? All right, so as we talk about agile, nimble, like a ninja, are your product images clean, concise? What's the difference between product and lifestyle imagery? And this goes back, I think, to one of our first questions about the headshot. I'm using the Be Encouraged pen as an exact example of a product shot. It is on a white background, or sometimes on a black background if you want to exude a little bit more sexy, a little bit more a darker template and a richness, if you will. But it is very important that you all understand that for magazine editorial roundups, most of the time they want it on a white backdrop so they can drop it in, play with it, and it's very clean. And it coincides with whatever font that they want to use with the roundup that they're doing. There are differences, and I'm sure some of you don't. Some of you may need to know. And some of you all might be experts that just might need a little fine tuning. But there's a difference. Product shots, lifestyle imagery. The image on the bottom is an example of lifestyle imagery. The image at the bottom is also an example of how sometimes you might alienate yourself from certain components. It is my hope that everyone would be open and welcoming, warm to the LGBTQ community, but sometimes people are not. So you want to make sure that your branding speaks to your consumer. I think he looks cool. And of course he has his Be Encouraged button on. So it's like, wow, he's perfect for my brand, but it might not work for you. The most important point here, having the items on your smartphone. There's no excuse here. Having your items readily available. You don't want to miss the opportunity on the plane. By the time the plane lands, you need to have a new friend and a new customer. So as we continue in the where, from print portfolio to being digitally dynamic, you should always have a portfolio of your product on your person. As I go back to it, there are too many options for you to not have a collage or examples of how your product looks as a product or as a lifestyle image. So instead of having, let's say, for instance, pictures of a grandbaby on your Instagram, you might want to make sure you have, let's say, for instance, your grandbaby and you laying out with your gorgeous earrings or holding your grandbaby up to the earrings, making sure that everything coincides with your brand. And again, if you don't want to necessarily have to focus on Dropbox, then use Instagram collages to be the place where you house the majority of your pictures and your imagery. We're going to move forward. So, question and answers, come with your A game.
Hold on, trying to all right, so we have a good question from Eve. She says, do you have any suggestions for creating a sense of urgency with clients or potential clients to close a sale via social media or a website? It can be easy to close in person, but not from a distance. So how do we encourage the sale right now?
Oh my goodness, I've got the answer for that one right now. We only have 3 more options left. So if you don't act fast, that's how you do it. You basically always have limited quantity. You're always exclusive. You always only have 2 left. If you don't do anything, you will always hear me talk about my mother, my mother, my mother. Well, we watch QVC together. And if you watch QVC, just pay attention. Oftentimes they're always running out of something. And it's always a short window for you to make a purchase. So replicate that same behavior with your brand. Does that answer?
Does that answer you? Yes, she said, thank you so much.
You bet, you bet. Do we have any more questions, Olga?
Yes, we do. A little bit earlier when you were talking about headshots, you had actually mentioned, I guess, the name of the woman for the headshots. Do you remember who that was? Because Jenith wanted to know.
Oh, I mentioned Miles Davis, Diane Carroll, and Lena Horne.
Okay, great. Thank you. We had another one from Ani. She said, can you use the terms everyday exotic or utilitarian exotic together to describe work if you do indeed do this, or will that confuse everyone?
Oh, wow. That's an awesome question. First off, I love both. I love the word play of both of those. And I think it's all in the interpretation. It's all in the context. The utilitarian stands out to me. What was the first one?
Everyday exotic.
I don't necessarily like everyday. I love the word pedestrian because you want women or customers to feel special when they adorn whatever you sell them. You want them to feel like a sense of wow when they wear whatever they're going to wear. So yes, it might be something that a consumer might wear to a gala, but some person might wear it to a gala, and somebody might wear it to Trader Joe's for to grab groceries. So I think illustrating what that really means, and I think the benefit of social media today is that you can take your brand and do an entire exhibit about everyday versus utilitarian, and taking that question that you have and explore that question with your followers and get them to tell you, what do they understand? What did they interpret from what you were talking about? Or what did they interpret from your imagery? Because when I think of utilitarian, I'm thinking camouflage, camo pants and a denim distressed shirt and some Birkenstocks and, like a fringe bag. So again, my mind can go several different ways with utilitarian. I'm thinking, like a backpacking through New York or something like that with some cute, really short hiking shorts and cute hiking boots. So again, it could run the gamut. I hope that helps and not stir you crazy.
I just realized we're close to 5 o'clock. I know you have more for your presentation, so I figure okay with continuing on.
Oh yes. Well, let me move faster. So we're at number 5.
We're recording it, so if people,
okay,
we're gonna keep on going.
Okay, wonderful. So then we have the why. I hope you all enjoyed it and stayed with me. And so we will talk about passion versus business. And one of the questions Olga presented to me initially is defining the role between the creative and the business of our business. So I titled it Passion versus Business. Why are you in the rat race? Quickly being said, is this a hobby? Is this a career? Did you take your life savings to make this endeavor happen? When you begin to look at it from these views, did you do this for fun? And is this just supplemental income? We are all living totally different existences. So what does that mean? And if you don't sell jewelry, will you not be able to pay your bills? So understanding that, and then wearing the hat of the creative, because oftentimes as a creative, I want to bury my head in the sand or look in the clouds and stay in the clouds all day long. But ultimately I have to focus on, okay, how many clients are coming through the door? How many sales are we making? What are the projected sales? How much revenue do we need to sustain the business? And separating those in my everyday, there we go with everyday, separating that in my everyday to make sure that we're meeting all of those needs of the business. So success is the result of hard work. Know your value. So many designers cheat themselves due to the thirsty mentality. This is extremely important. Do not, and I said in all caps, NOT, do not discount yourself or your product. And my best example of that is you don't go to Saks or Neiman Marcus and ask for a discount. Either one of two things. You go to the store, you go to purchase, you go to make sure you have enough money in your checking account or on your credit card to make the purchase, but you don't go asking for a discount. And so you have to operate or you wait for the sale to happen. Either way, you're not going into the store asking for a discount. So I'll use that same level of thinking as it relates to your small business. And a lot of times friends will say, oh, well, can you give me a friend discount? No, not really. If they're your friend, they should know that, hey, I need to support your business. And you need to be paying a little bit more because you should know the real journey about what it takes for me to survive in small business. So no discounts here. And because I'll give you an example. I have heard every story in the book. Oh, well, if you just give me a necklace, I could wear it on TV. Or if you give me a necklace, I could make sure so-and-so wear it at the Oscars. Okay, well, when you pay me, you can wear the necklace and you can talk about it all you want. But until then, I can't go, well, you all in New York, I'm in Georgia. I can't go to Georgia Power and tell them, oh, tomorrow, Miles Davis is going to wear my necklace at the Oscars. Can I pay you with that? That's a promise. Nobody can pay their bills with promises or false promises. So nothing is impossible. Startups require nonstop support. Separate your responsibilities between creative and business and being the business professional. Inevitably, you will at times be your own attorney, accountant, salesperson, and shipper. So I've got my sleeves rolled up. They stay rolled up. So just understand that that's a part of this journey. And oftentimes you might find yourself frustrated. Well, I have to do everything around here. Well, okay. Well, as a small business, that's what you signed up for. So just smile and keep going and be encouraged. So success is the result of hard work. Again, we're talking about passion versus the business. I want to tell you all, get your business frame in order. So many people don't sit down and draw out their business plan. And the business plan is nothing more, having talked with my financial advisors and people that help with the money, I understand that as a creative, I just love to create. I can tell you all that I don't want to talk about money. I just want to be able to do what I do. And ultimately, in my mind, I just want to be fabulous. And so I don't really care about talking about business. I don't want to talk about projections. I want to talk about utilitarian chic, and I want to talk about brims on hats, and I want to talk about velvet. And, you know, even though I'm in the house and having to wear a mask now, I'm thinking about full-length coats for the fall season. I don't really care to talk about, you know, numbers and digits, right? So it is very important for you all to focus on the business, get the business plan written out, making sure that you have the patents locked and covered so that your business venture is protected legally. I think so many people will get blinded by the full-length coat for the fall season. And before you know it, you don't have the money to store the full-length coat for the fall season because you haven't thought through your business strategy. So be about the business. A lot of creatives want to keep our heads in the clouds. I know because I am creative too. So we will speed past this last Q&A because we are on a time constraint, but surely you have something to ask by now.
We do. We have a really good question actually from Christina Mouse. She wanted to know.
Well, as long as you all are here, I'll stay here. I told Olga I took my day off so that we could talk about it.
We're hanging out. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
She wanted to know if anyone else found it hard to talk about selling with all the heartbreak and sadness and inequity in the world. On the one hand, jewelry is hard to escape, and on the other hand, she worries about the insensitivity to more pressing and urgent social problems. Can you comment on that?
Well, I think I've been perplexed by that as well. But I think, again, big business is continuing on. And if you treat your business as big business, you do it with a level of sensitivity and you strike that chord from the beginning. Simply put, I know that if I were writing that narrative for that person that's struggling with that thought, I know also well the struggles of where we are right now. But today I decided to share with you all these beautiful these beautiful emeralds. Hopefully it will bring a smile to somebody's face. I know it will bring a smile to mine if somebody purchased them, because it would help me as a small business. Like, thinking through that and being able to tell that story to be engaging. Being authentic, you will never lose with being authentic. You will never lose with being real. I hope that helps and I hope that answers.
No, that's really good. We had someone else ask about what channels you suggest for jewelers who want to be active on social media.
Well, I can tell you this. I after having sat in meetings now with different social media platforms, I simply was blown away by the power of Pinterest. And I have struggled with understanding it because I don't massage it. And I'm going to address that in just a second, but I will answer it now. I have struggled because oftentimes with running a business and running a creative firm, you're inundated with things all day long. And then now today, Zoom calls, and hopefully my lighting was excellent today on this Zoom call, but you're on Zoom calls, you're talking and doing all those things. And by the time the day is over, you're like, okay, now I got to get into some social media or something like that. But I think picking your poison and sticking with it, I think it's very important that you stay consistent with whatever platform that you're doing, because people will wait to see what you're doing today and how you're interpreting it and how you're applying it to your actual existence. That's going to make it unique. And so when you think about, I'm going to go back to utilitarian because that word sticks out in my mind now. I'm going to figure out how I can use that in my brand. But when you think about that, being able to illustrate those stories and bring them to life in your brand. And so whatever social media platform, I just encourage you to be consistent with whatever platform you decide to use. And it goes back to, don't be the jack of all trade and master of none. If you decide Pinterest is going to be your source because you love it, you know how to manipulate it, you know how to work it, then stick with it. Don't try to do Instagram and then don't post for 5 months, unless you're just like Jennifer Lopez or something, and then everybody's just coming anyway to just see what you're doing and want to see what you and your husband are buying, the new house that you're buying in LA just on purpose. So it really determines, you have to make an executive decision which platform you're going to exercise on the most.
We had another question regarding one of the metaphors you talked about earlier.
Yes.
So he was wondering about, you talked about not showing your own plumage when you were talking about the metaphor of the peacock. Can you explain that again?
Well, I was erring on the side of saying that when you are working, and say, for instance, I'm giving you an example of a trunk show. When you're working that trunk show and you have, let's say, for instance, five customers in the room, and you realize that you can gain someone's energy, and you can understand when they might look at you, especially man and woman alike, but you can look a lot of times and understand when a person has reservations. Their body language will say, I'm timid, I'm scared, I'm shy, I don't think this will really work on me. This means you have to dial back on your plumage and say, tell me, what are you thinking? You seem to have a little hesitation, a pause on your face. what do you not like about about this necklace, or how can I help you understand how this necklace can be worn? Taking responsibility that this person may be scared. They might look at this and say, I love the necklace, but I just don't know how I could wear this, or I don't know how I can infuse this in my wardrobe. You have to be that authority, and you have to understand being a great sales associate. Again, wearing different hats. You might not want to be, I love to create, but at the same time, I have to shift gears and not be the creator when I go to a trunk show. I have to shift gears and then become a creator that's now a sales associate. And I don't go in a trunk show. I encourage clients that go into trunk shows, get your attitude right. Don't go into a trunk show with a bad attitude or going into a trunk show with a frown on your face. Nobody really wants to hear that. We're talking about fashion. We're talking about lifestyle. We're talking about all things fabulous. The only thing people want to hear when they get there is, how is life going, and what yacht are you going to be on next summer? Because I'm going to be on one somewhere. So again, it's very different from, oh, this COVID is just bringing me down. Nobody really wants to hear that. People want to hear, okay, well, I'm getting me a jeweled mask and I'm going to be at my absolute best when I go out tomorrow. That's very different. And you're going to give people a level of excitement that's going to make them feel, oh, well, she's got it going on. I want some of that energy. I'm going to buy this necklace just because of that. So thinking through that and making sure that your energy is right. And so that's what I mean, just sort of dialing back and understanding when it's time for you to be the star of the show, and then when it's time for you to be the sales associate and the supporting cast member to your customers.
No.
And so hopefully that answer, we're going to rifle through some more of these, and then I'm going to stick around to answer questions, because I don't want to leave, as I've had the opportunity to speak to students in different groups, and I love the actual question and answers. And then Olga probably will shut me off and say, okay, we've got to go now, but I'm going to keep going here. And so this is my bonus, because I always like to give people a bonus. Of course, it was 5 steps to solidify your brand, but I have to go the extra mile and give you 6. And it's the additional segment. It's the behind the scenes. We're going to get real raw now. So what is your elevator pitch? Is my elevator pitch question person still here? Here it is. You better be the authority of your style and your craftsmanship. So here we talk about soar with your strengths and maintain your weaknesses. Will your brand and celebrity influence make for a perfect chemistry? Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. If you don't like accounting, hire an accountant. If you hate social media, hire a social media manager. This is how you circumvent your weaknesses. Understanding what you are, understanding what type of peacock you are. Sometimes the peacock doesn't want to spread and share. Sometimes you want to be a recluse. Understanding where you are every day with your brand is very important. So with your strengths, maintain your weaknesses. Beware of the pitfalls and know that celebrities like freebies. You hear me? Freebies. Oftentimes, the people that have the most money can want everything for free because they think, okay, I'm going to use my platform, which is applicable. They're going to use their platform to grow or help you get more sales. Well, are you strong enough to say no? And that's a capital N-O, no. Celebrities can be a nightmare because oftentimes brands preceding you have huge budgets and can throw product at them effortlessly. Case in point, Beyonce's launch of her brand. They rolled entire racks of clothes out to certain key people. Will this benefit? Will a celebrity placement yield a stellar image on the Oscar red carpet? So I go into, I'm gonna sort of shift back, but I say this to say, having all of your documents that we talked about earlier is important, because when you meet this celebrity or you meet this affluent person that may have the audience or the group to be able to supercharge your business, you want to give them directives when they take your item for loan, or when they take your item to wear for the Oscars, don't be so afraid. Don't be afraid to tell them, I want one selfie. I want one drop, a verbal drop on Instagram. And I want you to provide me with maybe 3 other images at the hotel room. Whatever that may be, give them the directives, because nothing in life is free. Even if you're loaning the garment or loaning something, have that garment protected, have it on contract, and have your documentation to support when that item is going to be shipped out from your office and when it is expected for that item to be back in your office, because you don't have money to lose. Fame comes at a cost, and can you meet the demand? Again, shipping stuff from New York to LA overnight for someone on a humbug that they may use it for an editorial, you need to clarify that and what that means in the contract. I am a huge fan of my proverbial ifs. The proverbial if is, if I can just get a little bit more money to launch my brand, I'll be good. If I can just get my social media following up, if I can get Angelina Jolie to wear my brand, or if I can get a meeting with QVC. All right, well, all those ifs won't work if you don't put in the work. So stop thinking in the proverbial if and start thinking about what you do have right now that you can impact, change, and elevate to make your brand a success. Tear sheets make for great exposure. Again, if you have the directives for, let's say, for instance, your favorite celebrity, the person that you feel is a great fit for your brand, taking those headshots that they send you for however you're designing your brand, you can quickly craft them into a collage. If you get 10 pictures at this same angle, so being direct and intentional about what you are wanting this person to do. If you want them to take the picture at a 45-degree angle, because that is what your brand looks like, and ask them and give them the example. This is the picture of my 45-degree angle. And so, was that 45? I think that's 45. So give them the exact example of what you want. Paste it on the document, paste it on the loan contract so they understand it. Keep your catalog and be sure that they are the highest resolution. So giving people examples of what you want. You do not want distorted imagery. The worst feeling in the world is when you get Angelina Jolie to wear your brand down that Oscar red carpet, and then you can never find a great image of that. So this goes back to my point about the legal and the documents. If you're loaning this stuff out to the publicist or to the person's manager or whatever, you ask them to tell you, hey, can you all have a photographer take this picture, that picture, this picture? And then at the end, or if you're on a red carpet, can you get me the contact person for the photography that you're hiring? Or if you, depending on your budget, I am going to hire a photographer to come photograph you all. Thinking through all those variables and making sure that it makes sense for your brand. Celebrity capital can be useful in penetrating stores. As I go back to my 45-degree angle shot, when you think through that, if you're able to catalog these things and be able to put them with your pitch doc, again, these are ways that you can impact or intensify your pitch. If you can quickly be able to draw on a great picture that's not pixelated, that's not distorted, that shows Angelina Jolie wearing your latest garment, this turns into a talking point. It is an excellent pitch resource. So having that documented and having that catalog so that you don't have to run all over town or call a photographer in LA when someone's asking pictures of you or your most recent placements, having that stuff readily available, will make your life much easier, because again, you already have to wear the hat of accountant, legal, medical, all those things. You want to have your things cataloged, readily available. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So let's circle back and talk about the quality of your product shot. Are you ready for the right exposure? Are you focusing on making sure everything is the right angle, making sure that it's lined up? Are your campaigns using effective white space? What does this mean? Making sure that everything's clean. I know that we may all be looking at the September Vogue issue. I'm excited to see what's going to come about. But when you look at that as a go-by, there's always effective use of white space. The editorials are very crisp. The fonts are very non-fussy. You can quickly be able to put yourself in that place. So I say be in sync with the photographer, because you don't want to have to chase people down. Photographers are creatives as well. They may not keep the files. Things happen, fires happen. If you don't have those, now this is the time where you might want to have a flash drive. Or if you don't have those things backed up on your computer, it's not anybody else's fault. But you'll find yourself blaming others. If I could just get that picture. I mean, my goodness, what happened to you? Why don't you have the picture? That's not their problem. You should have had it in your contract to say, I need that picture by after the editorial. This being said, storyboard your photo shoots no matter what. You might be looking at this and say, I only have 5 pieces of jewelry, Patrick. But those 5 pieces of jewelry can be made to look like millions of dollars. If it's laid out right, if the fonts look good, we have access to so many things. And I'm dating myself at this point, but one of my last photo shoots as a fashion stylist, so we did the cover of New Edition's album with Mark Seliger. And all I can remember is Mark was adamant about making sure that the lighting was right. And this is before a lot of airbrushing and a lot of digital, you had to shoot actual film. And so we stayed probably half a day getting the lighting right. Once he started shooting, he started shooting. So it's very important for you to have the idea and the layout design before you go to a photographer, so that they can understand and visualize what it is that you want. And then that makes it easily transferable to all of your social media platforms. Okay, so this is one point that I think Olga stressed with me. How do you handle a fashion stylist? I know, because I was one. A stylist should have documentation to support their request. And what does that mean? They need to have a letter of responsibility detailing the shoot, an accolade of liability. If you're working on movie productions or larger scale productions, they all have accolades of liability that illustrate what they are responsible for and how you will be recouped should something happen to your garment or your jewelry. You should request a loaner document from everyone that pulls something from you. Do not go on, well, we're friends, we're good. No, that's not business. So making sure that those loan agreements explicitly lay out when that garment should be received, what protocols you want them to act accordingly to, and when that garment should be back to you, and what you expect in return for loaning your product out. Establish the trade, meaning you want to make sure that you are explicit about what you expect. You do not want to have to chase down a magazine editor. The worst feeling in the world is for somebody to call you and say, oh, I saw your necklace in a magazine, and you don't even know anything about it. So by the time the magazines are off the magazine stand, you're trying to chase around or call Hearst and ask them, can you give me an old copy of the magazine? Nobody has time for that. Get your garments, get the loan document out, making sure that you have the editor's contact information on speed dial or in your address book or in your subscriptions, so that the next campaign that comes out, they'll be able to say, oh my goodness, we used that with so-and-so, and that turned out awesome. What does that designer have now? Again, going all the way back to the top of this document and talking about keeping the lines of communication open and valid at all times. So let's talk social media. We talked about this earlier because you all are smart and you jumped ahead of me and you are pushing me. And so the most important thing here that I want to illustrate is stay consistent and always continue the illusion of real-time coverage. I've had people say to me, what's wrong with you? You haven't posted in a long time. What's going on? You don't realize how people really are impacted by your brand, and they want to know, they want to support, they want to engage. And I will be honest, my social media sometimes suffer because my company is busy creating the social media narratives for so many different brands. So oftentimes I'm not posting about myself, but there's a drastic difference from when I post and when I actually engage with people. The turnarounds are amazing, and I tend to gather more business. All of the above. Living authentically. So only having the highest quality on display. Ask yourself, does this enhance my story or my collage? If it doesn't, don't use it. Don't be lazy and think to yourself, well, I just need to get something posted. I haven't posted. If it's not speaking to your brand, it's a waste of time. Even if you say, I'm just going to post once a week, let it be the most impactful post, the most thought out thought process on that caption, and making sure that it's impactful. And last but not least, can your customers click and buy whatever you are talking about? That's important for you all as designers. And we're getting almost to the end. Desktop versus mobile. I want to encourage you all to make sure that your desktop versus mobile is seamless and congruent across all platforms. I think we all can say we've gone to someone's mobile version and it doesn't look good. It looks nasty versus the desktop version. So just making sure that they are aligned and you don't have things out of order with your brand. And with that being said, when you all go to my brand, if you see something that's a misspelling, please let me know. Because sometimes you just miss things. It's just human nature. You look at things so much, you miss them. And then last but not least, we're talking about the promotional product suites. These are revenue builders for smaller brands or bigger brands. It allows you to further your messaging. Some of the items that you've seen me sip out of the cup today, they are part of my promotional suite and products that we have online to, another revenue stream. It helps marketing tools and help further your narrative. So if you have an awesome logo, if you have awesome pictures of your jewelry, wear it. Why not? Put it on a t-shirt, put it on a hat. This way people are like, oh my goodness, wow, what's that about? And we are done, you guys. That is it. And so the last slide, it offers information about where to find me, phone, website, email. And I hope this message and all of what I've talked about has given you insight to living authentically and to be encouraged to tell an elevated version of your brand. And I truly hope it was helpful, and I'm open to answering questions.
We have more questions.
All right.
Let me just kind of scroll through real fast. Judith wanted to know, what are your tips on keeping yourself encouraged? You have so much energy. Everybody wants to know. What do you do?
Well, thank you. Well, I often, every day, I learn this, and this is part of my story. My father, as I said, my father was a military veteran. He was a Vietnam War veteran. And he, due to Agent Orange, he had Parkinson's disease. And during my time, I stopped working for quite a bit of time to help my mother care for my father. And in that process, I saw a lot of things in going to nursing homes and seeing the other side of life and death. And in that process, of course, I told you all I had been through floods and things like that. And this is part of the part that I was saying, life gets difficult. And I just remember one day I was struggling and I just began to write my thoughts down about, just started to write positive affirmations for myself to get going and get to the nursing home and wash clothes and all those things. And I always tell people, I was the first person a 40-year-old single male to become a parent at 40 years of age and caring for someone. And I always I started my day off with like listening to good music and then writing down a positive affirmation for myself. And I just thought to myself, well, if I can just muster up the energy to write something positive and start my day that way, the rest of the day is going to be a cakewalk. Because I felt like, well, if I woke up, that's the biggest blessing. And then the rest of it I can handle. So I just began to write those affirmations. And then I didn't realize people were really watching it and or paying me attention, really. And so one day, one of my high school classmates wrote me a message and said to me, "Do you have a minute to talk?" And I looked and I was like, "Yeah, I got a minute to talk, you know." And as they began to talk to me, they began to share with me their story and how life had just truly been unfair and had been harder than what I was imagining and what I was experiencing. And of course, for me, because I worked in fashion and, you know, on the vanity side, I was told, you know, get dressed and look fabulous every day. And I don't have children, so I can buy whatever I want to buy, go where I want to go, travel the world, and, you know, wear fabulous frocks and things like that. And for me, on the inside, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to nursing homes now. This is not so boring. It's not so fabulous. And then I was like, I found myself feeling really, really bad about that. Like, I was like, this is foolish. You sitting around here complaining, but you got a dad that loves you and everything. So going through all those emotions in my head, I say this to say, writing the affirmation. And then as I get back to my classmate that called, that asked, could I talk to them? And it's so funny that you say I'm encouraged because it's just, it was an awakening, if you will. But my classmate began to talk to me about suicide. And I had never had somebody talk to me about this. I had never had anybody be that vulnerable with me. And I was on the phone and I'm telling you, I was in tears and I was just like, where are you? I'm gonna stop what I'm doing. Where do you know, because their downward spiral began with not losing a job, not having money. And I said, well, listen, wherever you are, they had children. And I said, I can, listen, I can bring you some money. Do do you have some food? And I began to think to myself, I said, well, if I can just, I'll get to you, give me a minute. And so I say all that to say, they talked with me that day. And the next day, they called and said, I got a job. And I was just like, when I heard that, she said to me, I didn't think I could make it another day. And again, we're sitting on the phone. I love what I do. And so taking the time to talk with them, and as my friends say, sometimes you can be talking a person off of a bridge and you just don't know it. And so that was my helping someone, talking someone off of a bridge. And I don't need kudos for that. It was just, I was supposed to be where I was supposed to be at that particular point. And I was supposed to be a vessel to help them see that, just like my mother would say, sit down. If life is starting beating you up, just go take a nap. And my daddy would always say, just let's go get an ice cream. It'll be all right. Just lay down and get back up and be ready to fight the next day. And so the emissary of encouragement was birthed out of all of those experiences. And as I began to tell that story, it's always been me. It just wasn't packaged in that way. And so as I began to talk about what I wanted to talk about, how I wanted to attack design, and how I wanted to help people to see the benefits of telling true stories and not some caked up, for lack of better words, bullshit, that I began to see is power in telling stories. You can help save somebody. You can bring a bright light to somebody's day. And so as I began to talk about it, my friends came over after my dad checked out, and my friends began to say, it's like you always share with everybody. You don't mind sharing your thoughts. You don't mind giving to people. And I was like, well, you know, that's how I was raised. And so that being said, my friends came over. We were sitting on my patio drinking Whispering Angel, and we started Googling encouragement. And so one of my friends, Rayco Clark, she owns the most amazing Punko chicken in Atlanta. She is the best chicken you will ever have in your life. Rayco is a business professional as well. And she said, she was Googling and she's talking, and she said, emissary. And I was like, emissary, let me read that. Let me see what that means. And I'm looking, and it means a person on a mission. And so I didn't realize at that particular time that that's what I was going to be used for. And I didn't realize at that particular time that, all the struggles, the water, the collapse, the water, the flood in my house, and my neighbor, I say now, blessing me with not turning her water off before she went out of town, returning out of town. And when she saw me and she realized she did not cut the water, she literally didn't turn the faucet completely off. She said, how can you be so smiling about this? I said, well, I'm still here. And ultimately, the insurance company is going to make my condo look much better than it did the first time. So that's just my story. And that's why I tell people, tell your story, because you don't know where you might be talking somebody off of a bridge. You don't know how that might register with someone. And sometimes people will listen to my story and they'll think, you gotta be lying. And I'm like, no, that's what happened. And so it's what I live. I live to tell it and to help people to be encouraged. That's a long answer, isn't it?
Honestly, I feel like that's the best possible way to leave this off. I mean, sharing your vulnerability and your truth and encourage everyone to tell their story is amazing. Thank you so much for your energy and your time and staying with us an extra half an hour to give us all of this incredible advice. I'm going to mute everyone because I'm sure everyone wants to say hello and thank you in addition to the chat box. So
can I see everybody?
Thank you so much, Patrick. This was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Loved it. Enjoyed every minute of it. I will not put the video because I'm not presentable, but
it's all right.
Loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So make sure if there are other questions, of course, like I said, the chat box is on the website, and then we will be picking our winners and things like that. And, if there are more questions that you think about, it's almost like looking at a house. When you go in to look at a house to buy, you might have questions afterwards, and feel free to shoot them with me. Shoot them over to me.
Yes, I will.
Thank you for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.